Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's morning briefing. An elementary school in Albania is drawing a lot of negative attention from Israel's foreign ministry this week, since the school changed its name in August to Mustafa Buzuladzic Elementary, Buzuladzic being a Muslim Nazi collaborator. The elementary school, which is in Sarajevo, clapped back against Israel, saying that Israel, quote, has no right to give moral lessons to others, end quote, because of the ongoing Israeli settlement policy in the West Bank. The Israeli Foreign Office has since cited several of Buzuladzic's own anti-Semitic writings from the 1940s in a complaint sent to the regional Albanian government. One such writing described how the marketplace was finally freed from the, quote, Jews and their deception and speculation, end quote, thanks to, quote, people fighting the Jews, end quote. He goes on to write, however, that the Jews' extortion-like practices and corrupt spirit still lingered in the bazaar. The Israeli complaint letter in part read, quote, the Embassy of Israel reiterates its sincere regret that the authorities of Sarajevo Canton approve such a move, especially considering the fact that the vast majority of the Bosnian Jewish community was brutally murdered by the hand of the fascist and Nazi occupying forces with which Mr. Buzuladzic identified himself, end quote. After receiving the letter, though, the school only doubled down and protected Mustafa Buzuladzic. They refuted that he was an anti-Semite, calling him the tolerant force that brought multi-ethnicity to Sarajevo, and then referred back to Buzuladzic's writing about the bazaar, saying he was only referring, quote, to poor Jewish qualities, and that, quote, the current situation in the world where similar banking practices are causing an economic crisis shows that Mustafa was right, end quote. The recent reports of anti-Semitism on college campuses are more than alarming. The ADL has found evidence that anti-Semitic incidents, including violent hate crimes and vandalism on campuses across the United States, are up 60% this year. Well, now the United States House Judiciary Committee has just listened to some testimony regarding these reports, forcing them to consider whether or not to pass a 2016 bill that would require the Department of Education to adopt the State Department definition of anti-Semitism. Opponents to the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, or the A.S.A.A., say that it would limit free speech, but the text in the legislation is intended to require education institutions that receive federal funding to employ the State Department standards in assessing whether civil rights laws in a potential hate crime have been violated. The working State Department definition of anti-Semitism centers around the 3 Ds, or the demonization, delegitimization, and double standard applied to Israel and often Jewish people who are automatically assumed to be in support of certain Israeli policies. Anti-Defamation League head Jonathan Greenblatt and many others have come out in support of the legislation, saying that it would help keep Jewish students safe on campus while protecting free speech for all. But it's still not yet clear whether the House Judiciary Committee will pass the A.S.A.A. or not. In the story that keeps going from bad to worse, it now appears as though former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak was the one who referred ex-MOSSAD agents to Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein, all in order to squash sexual assault and harassment allegations made against him. According to The New Yorker earlier this week, Weinstein hired private companies to collect information on the women and journalists who were looking into him. One such agency was Black Cube, a private Israeli intelligence company. Well, now, former Prime Minister Barak has admitted to having put Weinstein and Black Cube together, though he insists that he didn't know why Weinstein was hiring them. According to Barak's spokesperson, Weinstein came to Barak asking for a company that could help him with a business issue, and that Barak, while not personally familiar with the firm or its executives, gave Weinstein Black Cube's contact info. Despite confirmation that Black Cube was since contracted to shut down the publications of Weinstein's alleged crimes, Black Cube has responded saying that it will not discuss clients, but that its work is always legal. A rare turn of events has just occurred in the Knesset. Arab Knesset member A.S.A.A from the Meretz party is now expected to join the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee. While he wouldn't be the first Israeli Arab on the committee, it is seen as odd, since nearly all other Arab appointees have opted out so as not to be seen as complicit with Israeli security policies. Frij, should he end up in the seat, would be replacing fellow Meretz party member Zehava Galon, who left the Knesset in October but is still the Meretz party head. Now the only thing standing in Frij's way is the Zionist Union Party, which believes the seat belongs to them, since they supposedly gave it to Galon in the first place. But an official has said that the issue will be decided between the two parties amicably. The last Arab MK to serve on the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee was Taleb El-Sana from the United Arab List in 2006. He was only on the committee for a few weeks. By now, it's pretty well known that Israeli tech firms are behind some of the coolest features in Apple's latest iPhones. Well, as it turns out, even Apple might not have properly given credit where credit is due. An Israeli startup just sued Apple, accusing the tech giant of infringing on 4 of its patents for smartphone cameras. The Tel Aviv-based startup Core Photonics has been pioneering cutting-edge camera optics for smartphones for 5 years now, and apparently reached out to Apple some time ago during development of the iPhone 7 Plus and 8 Plus. According to the lawsuit, Apple was initially positive about licensing 4 patents from the company, 2 for a mini telephoto lens, 1 for a dual aperture zoom, and 1 for a high-res multi-aperture system. Features that highlight the excellent cameras on the new iPhone just released a few weeks ago. However, the lawsuit points out that Apple's negotiations to properly secure the patents fell apart at some point, resulting in 4 patent infringements. There's no word yet on how much the lawsuit will seek in terms of damages, but by the time this all gets sorted out, we'll probably have iPhone 20s. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.